This is Cade Miller. He's a fifth-year senior baseball player, and before we started working together, he hadn't been healthy since he was a freshman in college. He dealt with ulnar nerve neuritis that costed him his sophomore year, then a shoulder impingement, and then a labrum tear that required surgery. And after all of that, he sprained his UCL his senior year. So this isn't just one injury or one problem. This is tons of problems that are stacking on top of each other. And when you've been hurt that many times, it doesn't just affect your arm. It affects your confidence. It affects the way you prepare. And it affects whether or not you believe that you can go out on the field and get the result that you're capable of. At one point in the program, Cade said to me, "This is the best that I've felt since I was a freshman." There was no more questions or concerns of, is this going to hurt? Am I going to be ready to step out on the field? Those questions are gone. That's why I wanted to make this video, because this isn't just about an athlete getting his pain to go down. This is about an athlete who has been stuck in the injury cycle year after year, finally getting back to feeling like himself. So to understand why Cade's story matters, you first have to understand what his body's been through, because it's been through years of injuries. He missed time with ulnar nerve neuritis, then a shoulder impingement, then a labrum tear, and then a UCL strain in the span of 4 years. And on top of all of these arm injuries, he was dealing with other symptoms as well. His low back and his hip were tight, and he felt like he was constantly having to favor his left side. So again, all of this is important and relevant, because when you're dealing with somebody who has such a long and extensive injury history, we can't just look at where is the pain at and where is the symptom that I'm going to chase today. Instead, what I look at is what type of body is he operating on and the movement that it's capable of. Because if the body underneath the flawed throwing mechanic is also in a bad position, the arm is chronically going to have to make up for what the rest of the body isn't doing. And quite honestly, that's where a lot of athletes get stuck, is they chase the symptom instead of changing the body that is creating the symptom. Early on in working together, you could definitely see that Cade had some fear around these injuries, just having been hurt over and over and over again. In one of our earlier calls, he said he felt like his shoulder was crunchy. And when I asked him if he had some concern about that, his answer was an honest yes, because of the amount of injury history that's gone in that area. And all of this matters, because athletes that are dealing with repeated injuries over and over don't just suffer from damaged tissue. They also suffer from the memory that these injuries caused. They're thinking, is this going to start again? Am I about to miss more time? Can I trust this? Or is this another setback? That's the headspace that all of you are living in, whether you say it out loud or not. And in Cade's case, you could see that if he tried to force a position within his mechanics, that the rest of his body would compensate. He talked about trying to force a deeper hinge, which ultimately would make his arm late. Then we talked through how if you force your body to do something instead of naturally owning it, your body's going to find a different way to compensate. And that's one of the biggest things about this entire story, because it's not just you need to try harder. The answer was, get your body into a better position so that the movement stops costing you as much. As we went through the program, the goal wasn't just to get his shoulder to feel better on a day-to-day basis. The goal was to improve the overall position that he's in so his arm stops taking the same level of stress. This means working on things like his pelvic position, his thoracic spine position, any sorts of rotation that's going on within his body. And the one really exceptional thing that Cade did, as simple as it sounds, he paid attention. He was honest about what he felt and what he didn't feel within the exercises that he was doing. So we were able to build a really specific program of exercises for him and his body, because he found what worked and what didn't work. This ultimately makes the biggest difference, because the athletes that get the best results from working with me are the ones that are intentional about relearning their body as they go through the program. One of the first big turning points for Cade was when his shoulder started to feel better. And on February 25th, he told me that the shoulder problem that we originally started with was completely gone. And when I asked him what seemed like it was helping, he said the exercises definitely played a role, but there was also something that he started doing after he threw. And I had wanted him to start doing this a lot earlier. The post-throw piece to this is where your money is made. He explained something to me that was so simple that I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you guys. When he would do his post-throw exercises, he felt like his body was reset. That reset not only allowed him to feel better, but it allowed him to recover faster. Because what he actually means when he says that his body feels like it's reset is it means that it's no longer stuck in the shitty pattern that it was before. It means that you're starting to recover better. It means that your body is better organized, and that is exactly what we want to see happen. He also said that after doing his posture therapy before he went out and threw, that he felt like it was easier to get into all of the positions throughout his delivery. And that's not just a small detail. That's the difference between trying to force a position and having natural access to it. And this is where this starts to become really powerful, because Cade wasn't just feeling better. You could see the improvement in his pictures without having any trained eye on how to look at posture. On that February 25th call, I pulled up his pictures and I just asked him to point out what the obvious things were that he saw. And he was able to see a bunch of improvement there. But we also saw some improvement in the pelvic position, the rotation out of his back, his mid-T-spine position, which are all of these different problem areas that were leading to the problems at the shoulder. And then when we met on March 11th, I showed him his new photos again, and he was able to again identify some very big differences that were occurring within his body. And that's what we want to see in these case studies. Not only do we want the athlete to feel a difference, I need to see the difference in your photos, but the real difference happens when you're able to see the difference in your body as well. You feeling the difference is fantastic, but you seeing the difference is the real key to this, because after all of the injuries and surgeries and rehabs that you've gone through, having inconsistent results, having a direct thing that you can see that is leading to the symptoms being better is only going to give you more peace of mind that this is going to last. On March 11th, I asked Cade where we stood with all the injuries and the symptoms that he originally entered the program with. And he said one thing to me: I feel like this is the best I've felt since my freshman year of college. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Not, I feel better, I think this is working, maybe it's doing something. No. The best I've felt since my freshman year of college, even after all of these injuries that he sustained. And then he added one more thing that I think is really important. He said he didn't have to worry about showing up to the field to do a 90-minute warm-up to maybe be ready to throw. He told me that after he does his posture exercises, I know I'll be good to go. And that is a massive shift, because it's not just less pain. That is freedom, and that is confidence. That's getting the mental bandwidth back from all of these injuries that have zapped it from your body. Instead of spending time on wondering if his body's going to be ready to go, he's able to go out there and focus on just competing to get the best result on the field. And the improvement didn't stop there. On our March 26th call, Cade told me this was the best his shoulder had felt, and if he was dealing with anything, it was a little bit of tenderness and soreness in his elbow. But it went away within a normal recovery window of about 1 to 2 days. And the honesty behind that statement is really, really important, because we aren't pretending that we turned this guy into a robot overnight. This isn't about saying every single symptom that you could ever experience will vanish forever. It's about the fact that what used to be chronic, scary, limiting, and honestly unpredictable has turned into something manageable, normal, and easily recovered. And that's real progress. He said he felt like his body was loose and active in all the right places. That matters to me a lot, because guys judge whether or not something's working based off of if they feel prepared. And Cade certainly did. So why did this work? It wasn't because of one magic drill, and it certainly wasn't a magic pill. It wasn't because he found some secret about the shoulder that nobody else knows about. It's because he changed the body that was creating the problem. As Cade's pelvis got into a better position, his mid-back was able to stack more appropriately, his shoulder didn't have to sit as far forward, and as we made all of those changes, the stress comes off of all of these improper parts, leading to the pain going away. That's the whole point. You change the position, you change the function. If you change the function, you change where the stress goes. And if you change where the stress goes, you ultimately change the symptoms. And in Cade's case, that didn't just show up in his posture photos. That showed up in how his shoulder felt, how he recovered, how he felt the control out of his body, and it showed up in the confidence level that he carried out onto the field. He became the guy who was so confident in his ability to step out onto the mound and throw and get results, when he had been the guy who was so scared to pick up a ball because he was gonna get hurt again. So if you're a baseball player watching this, and you've been dealing with elbow pain, shoulder pain, loss of velocity, immobility, or your body just doesn't feel right, listen carefully. That doesn't mean that your career is automatically over. And that also means that you don't automatically need another surgery, another injection, another rehab program. Because honestly, the bigger issue is that your body is in such a poor position that it cannot move in the way that it's meant to, which at the end of the day is going to force your arm to take the price for it. That's exactly what Cade did. He had years of injuries, years of compensations, and years of trying to manage the pain adding on top of one another. But when he stopped chasing the symptom, the results started to change too. So if you're in a similar spot and you feel like you've tried everything and your body still doesn't feel right, that's exactly what we do. We look at your body as a full picture. We look at your posture, we look at your alignment, and then we look at the compensations that are occurring underneath that. Because the goal isn't just to have you feel better. The goal is to actually make you move better, recover faster, and perform at a higher output than what you're currently doing. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, click the link in the description, book in a call where you'll jump on and talk to either me or one of my team members more about your situation and how posture could help you take that next step forward. Cade's story is proof that when you stop chasing symptoms and start changing the body, everything starts to move in the right direction.